Hello. Welcome to the In Love with Business podcast. This miniseries is titled Chief Sustainability Heroes and is hosted by Professor Paolo Melina and Melina Corvalia-Shore from University College London, School of Management. Throughout this series, we will talk to sustainability leaders from different organizations and sectors to learn about their sustainability journeys. We will ask them about their career paths, the challenges they encountered in implementing complex strategies of sustainable transformation, and what inspired them along the way. We will also ask what advice they would offer to aspiring chief sustainability officers. Enjoy the episode.
In today's episode, we are joined by Montse Montaner, former Chief Sustainability Officer at Novartis. Novartis is a multinational pharmaceutical company based in Basel, Switzerland, that operates in 58 countries and employs more than 100,000 people worldwide. Montse was with Novartis from 2007 to 2023. In June 2023, Montse started a new chapter in her career, founding her own advisory firm called Montaner and Associates. And today, she's helping large organizations of the likes of Nordic Capital and Deloitte on sustainability and healthcare. Welcome, Montse, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It's really great pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you.
Excellent. So, Montse, welcome to this show where we basically invite chief sustainability officers and former chief sustainability officers to share about their careers. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and your path to becoming a chief sustainability officer?
Sure. So I am pharmacist by education. And then I was really wanted to study pharmacy because I have a very close relationship to improve people's lives, and then in the way that mainly from the healthcare point of view. So then for my 30 years in working in Sanofi and as well in Novartis, I was much more focused on the healthcare system and also in quality and operations and many different dimensions, development as well for new products, etc. But it was almost 4 years ago, also very close to my children, which I see how they needed to live in the future. I was really started to be very much close to my heart that I need to do something different personally and also as a company in the way that really we can really improve planetary health. Because there is really a very close correlation between human health and planetary health. So we are already seeing that as a result of the climate change, for example, there are new infectious diseases, there are new respiratory diseases. And then I think, okay, I need to do something different. And then it is why it came to the very nice opportunity in Novartis to run as a first chief sustainability officer, and then to go end to end from sustainability point of view in order that the company itself make a much more positive impact into the society, but as well me as a catalyst or as a change agent or as a driver to make that happen. That's why in a short minute, so how it came there to my life.
Fantastic. That's really nice to hear. And I guess you kind of answered already to what was going to be my second question, but maybe you wanted to elaborate a little bit on that, which was basically really about, what inspired you to this type of career and more broadly to sustainability. But is there, you spoke about, this at a certain point ambition of becoming a chief sustainability officer. So did you recognize that as a role that was really, allowing you as an individual to drive change in the organization and in the industry?
Yes, it was. But also I was really very privileged that the CEO of the company was also saying that, right? So I think it was really fortunate that it was coming in the both end. And to be very honest to you, I have a very passionate on sustainability. It is very close to my heart. But I didn't have maybe the very strong, profound knowledge on some elements on sustainability. And then that was also as well how I can be really a leader on that without having this profound knowledge. So, and then here you see the evolution of the chief sustainability officer years to years. So you need to be a person who have a very business acumen, super curious because you need to learn a lot from others. You need to have very strong collaboration because you can as well, I think, replicate a lot of best practice from other sectors and companies to your company, and definitely to be very pragmatic and very resilient because you will see ups and downs a lot, right? So these are maybe the skills that you need as a chief sustainability officer. Some years ago, people were much more focused on communications, then comes to finance, and now also operations. And then you need to have many different and diverse skills to help you really to drive really successfully that role in the company, and to have very strong support from the leadership management to help you really to drive that change in the company.
Great. You mentioned how the role has evolved quite a bit over the years, and since you during your time as well at Novartis. So, can you describe for us what the key responsibilities are in the function of a chief sustainability officer?
Yeah, I think it was very much linked to how the companies it as well they were seeing sustainability, and this what I call is like a maturity level, right? So if you see that you need to be just compliant with regulations, then it's one type of profile that you're looking at, just chief sustainability officer. But that exactly does not help you to change the operating model, to change the business itself, right? So that's why it is you need to add much more this business acumen, very strong financial background. So very much it tells you how the company evolves. If the role is very much reporting, you are still in the early stages of the maturity on the sustainability. If you see that the role is much more embedded, the overall sustainability across all the business and operations to allow really that the company is able to make products and services sustainable, and also impacting in the way that the consumer will change the criteria on decision as a result of if that product it is or not sustainable, then it's a different maturity, and then it's different level of skills that you need much more on the dimension of business operations and etc. So that tells you how the companies are evolving, and it's fascinating to see how companies are evolving from one year to another year, and how the chief sustainability officer as well, it is equipped with the different people in the organization. The person itself evolves differently as part of the different needs that that company has as part of the journey.
Let me ask you something here, Montse. In your industry, how many large organizations, do you think still look at sustainability as a topic of compliance?
They are still, so be aware that I think the positive aspect on the healthcare, on the life science, it is that it is a very highly regulated sector. So by default, we are very conscious on regulations, and that means that this is really very important. But you see companies which are much more mature, which they are already able to supply to the market medicines which are sustainable, and there are other ones which they are still figuring out where it is that, right? And what does it mean? How is the implications? Of course, generics, for example, companies which are much focused on generics, they are still on the early stages. However, I think that they have a tremendous positive societal impact because they are the ones who are giving much more access medicines to people, right? So there is about
Yeah,
the
that makes
social
sense.
part and maybe the environmental part, right? But there are other ones which are much more evolving. So I think, but there are still companies which, for example, with vaccines and also biologics, which is much more complicated, definitely much more challenging to make medicines which are sustainable. They are still in the middle of the transition on the different stages.
Mhm.
That's interesting. Many companies are. You touched on. It depends on where they are on this journey. So the stage of their maturity. So this next question may depend on that. But from your experience, what are the most significant challenges facing companies today, and how, as a chief sustainability officer, do you address those challenges with your organization?
Yeah, so The first challenge sometimes is a very basic one, to define sustainability for the company itself. It's very
Yeah.
basic, but you cannot imagine how much people are sometimes confusing ESG and sustainability. What does it mean? And definitely, depending on which sector you are, maybe there is much more environmental aspect than societal aspect, and the other ones, which is much more social aspect. What is clear that governance, the G part, that's fundamental, and everybody needs to follow and needs to do it. Now, but coming back to your question, for me, the biggest challenge is culture. And still, companies are not able to translate the sustainability mindset into the company, and really understanding that this could really bring to the company a very positive impact from a revenue, for example, to hiring people. It has been already the 40% increase of hiring and retention of the people if people are working in a company which is sustainable. And also, you can also reduce your cost of good, because if you are reducing carbon, if you are saving carbon, you are saving cash, right? But still, there is a lot of changes in terms of the culture. So one, it's the culture. Secondly, data. Data, it's extremely very difficult to get access to that. It's quite complicated. That is there, it's available, but it's very difficult to access, to understand, and to be able to have an end-to-end view on how it is your impact in the overall carbon footprint, or also in another dimension as well. So that means that you need technology as an enabler to help you on that. Okay, and the other one, which I think that is also important, that is it could be as well, is another challenge. It is that do not underestimate that what is the voice of the consumer. And sometimes we are not really listening too much on that, right? Because the consumer are changing their habits. The consumer are very serious on sustainability. The consumer are very much demanding on that. So I think it's important as well to listen to that and to adapt your operating model to make that really much more visible to the consumer, right? So, but in a nutshell, it's mainly culture. So to have really a very strong leadership, which is really embedded on that, data access, and of course that we are still not having the digital technology solutions to help us really to transition to that, and do not underestimate the voice and the power of the consumer.
So you touched before on the skills of chief sustainability officers. Can you elaborate on that? How do you develop these skills? How do you maintain them over time?
Yeah, I think of course it's important to have the hard skills and the soft skills. So I think it's important to understand where the person comes, which is the background, because it's important for you to have what I call a critical thinking and analytical thinking, because you need to all the time to challenge the status quo and really embrace a lot of curiosity on your learning curve as well. So, and then there are, of course, backgrounds, educations, like maybe pharmacist or scientist or engineer, which allows you and helps you to really to build that skill, right? But that is one of the areas that you need definitely. But at the same time, in order to be credible in your organization, that's why it's really important that you have very strong business acumen. So I was learning a lot from many different dimensions in terms of have very strong communication skills and storytelling, because you need really to embrace people with change management. So then you need really to inspire people why you need to do all of that. So communication skills are super important. Secondly, you need all the time, as already mentioned, to challenge a set of skills. Then the critical thinking and analytical thinking are really very important. Then you need to be able to understand what is the impact of that in the business. So then financial background, you need as well to have that, because otherwise you are not able to articulate that message properly to see what's really the impact on that way. And then there are the soft skills for me, which is a very important collaboration, because you cannot do that alone. So you need a lot working with a lot of different people. As much diverse background can really help you on that. And the other dimension, which I think is very important, you need to be, for me anyway, it is critical, you need to have very strong credibility and integrity, because you will be starting to report a lot of data, and you really need to show that what are you supplying is the right thing. And be humble, because maybe you needed to also to show that we have been not been able to progress as it was expected, and you needed to change maybe the direction, or you needed to do things in a different way, right? And then finally, innovative, because the solutions are not yet there. So you need to look at, you need to be open to really to learn from different things to do, and how you need to maybe to do things in a different manner, and to be really open to that, right?
Yeah.
So then when you're saying what they have been learning, and then I have been really approaching many different peers from other sectors, from other companies, to learn what they have done, what they have been learned, what they have been failed. And you know what is really fantastic? It is so much collaboration. Everybody's sharing so much. I really love it that there is no competition on that, because everybody is seeing that all of us need to work together on that, right? And then there are fantastic programs, education programs, a lot of very good articles, podcasts like that you needed to listen, and to keep you, of course, up to skill, and also to keep yourself updated on that. And finally, to have a fantastic, very diverse team working with you. So I didn't have environmental background expertise. However, I know very much the basics of the environment, because as a pharmacist I can learn, but I needed to have in my team an environmental engineer expert on that, right? And then I needed to have a very strong person on financial as well, to be able to articulate when you need to comply with regulations, with the SEC regulations, now with the EU Green Deal, etc. So you needed to be really having a very diverse team, which helps you as well to grow on that journey.
Right. Montse, you touched on something there about collaboration, which I think is so important on this journey. And it's interesting to collaborate with other organizations outside of the industry. But can you tell us how the industry itself is working together? So how, I know how important competition is, and keeping some things close to home. But
Yeah.
like, how are you interacting? Are you seeing that interaction more and more?
Yes, definitely. And that was for me a very aha moment, because I was expecting much more competition. That, okay, let's not look at that. But for example, in the pharmacy world, what we have done, it is that top companies, we come together, because one of the biggest challenges that we have, that's another one that I should have mentioned before as well, it is you interact with many suppliers, with many third parties, with many companies, thousands and thousands. And all of them have a very diverse maturity level. There are people who they don't know how to do that, and the others which are much more expert. So then we were working together how we can support those third parties which are common to all of us, right, in the pharma sector, for them to start to use renewable energy in their operations. And they started to educate them, to start to see how is the positive impact that they could have in their footprint, and then automatically in our footprint. And that it was a very strong partnership that we did as well with Schneider and another energy company to help us to do that. And then that it was based on conversations with the different chief procurement officer and chief sustainability officer. Okay, we have the same issue. We are challenging, and we are sharing the same suppliers. How we cannot join forces to work together on that, right? And for me, that it was fascinating. Now, for example, how are you interpreting the EU Green Deal, right? So what that it means, an implication for you as a pharma sector. So then we are working together to understand, to interpret it, what can be right, what cannot be right. So how you do this, etc. It's really fantastic to see open doors on that, honestly.
Great.
Fantastic. And I guess today, we see new regulation every day with a focus on sustainability. We see new ESG providers. We basically see new ideas and concepts coming to life. So as a chief sustainability officer, how do you stay up to date with the latest, sustainability trends and best practices? Do you need to know everything? How you do that?
Of course, to know everything, it's impossible, but you need to know, definitely. It's to know. And you're right, that now there is a boom, an explosion with many regulations, quite confusing, all of them, right? It's not clear the interpretation. That's why companies are much more now to say, let's wait and see. Others are much more driving the active role to be the first early movers to really to bring that a competitive advantage to their business. You need to read a lot. You needed to be present in many different forums. You needed to challenge. You needed to really to ask a lot of questions. But yeah, you need to be up to speed because this is really moving very, very fast.
Mhm.
That's great. If I just want to build on that for a moment. So, for a large corporation, like Novartis, for instance, operating in more than 58 countries globally, how do you navigate those regional differences in terms of regulations for such a large corporation?
Yeah, that happens to any company, right? So
Yeah.
for any company which have a very large presence, that's one of the challenges because you are really supplying product to that market. So and then now you see that, for example, UK with the plastic tax and the Nordic countries, they have a different regulations. That's the challenge exactly because if you wanted
Yeah.
to be delivering that product into the market, you need to comply with their regulations. And that's the pity on the other hand, right? So why this cannot be much more harmonized end to end, but that's not what happens. So that's exactly the much more burden creating to the companies. That's true that there are a lot of similarities, but at the same time, the way that you are providing the data or interpreting, it's different. And then that creates a lot of work. That's why, Paolo, what maybe would be good is to have companies, which they are already started to have companies, which they are platforms, which with data can really help you as well to understand how you are able to comply or what is the way that you need to report back to different countries based on the
Yeah.
regulations. And they help a lot to make it that platforms are started to be live now. Let's see how it goes. But that's, I think it's a great opportunity for companies to come with a very strong digital solution to help us really to enable all of that because it's really very challenging.
Excellent. And I mean, sustainability is a process, very complex. And I think you mentioned before change management, and
Yeah.
sustainable transformation is about change management, right? So in a change management process, you have your ups and downs in the journey. So how do you stay motivated as chief sustainability officer, and how do you kind of deal with the big challenges that are always on your table?
Yeah, you need to have a lot of resilience. I need to tell you, resilience is super important. The motivation, it comes when I come back to home and then I see my children say, oh my God, what is really the legacy that we are bringing to them? So that, of course, push you again. You need to do more and you need to do things differently to really to be able to provide a better planet for that, or to avoid these injustices that they are across the globe, which are really unfortunate. So these external factors from outside the company are the ones who are really keeping me motivated and inspiring. Unfortunately, there are so many negative external factors that you need to be always looking at, which really pushing yourself to do the things differently, right? And then also it's important you need to be consistent. You cannot be today. So I love it one message that John Kerry was mentioning. You know, the John Kerry, which it's important. He's really one of the loudspeakers in the US related to sustainability. He told clearly in one of the conferences that I was attending, say, look, sustainability, it's like a pregnancy. Or you are or you are not. But health doesn't matter. There is no way, right? And he's right. So or you are in or you are not. Now, in that journey, there are ups and downs. But if you are in, as you said, that you are in, keep consistent on doing that and keep consistent changing the world, keep consistent fighting against injustices, fighting against the not diversity, and really not really equality. So keep doing that despite all of the challenges, but still there is a much more I think the balance is still much more positive when you keep doing and keep trying to make it that in a proper way.
Excellent. I would like to kind of close this episode today with two final questions for you, Montse. And it got my attention before. You got my attention before when you said that organizations still struggle to define sustainability in business, and actually that was at the core of my TED talk a couple of years ago. This problem that we do have in industry and we need to address. So as one of the contributions I tried to do with my research was basically to come up with a new definition, which I presented in a book that was published 2 years ago. And I just wanted to hear your opinion on this definition that we shared. So my definition is that corporate sustainability is an integral approach to business, where the objective is to enhance competitive position and profitability through the sustained creation of shared value, co-creation practices with stakeholders, and the integration of ESG factors in decision making. What's your take on this definition?
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Definitely. And then how much you can also, I will be maybe extend a little bit much more, then translating really on a new operating model for the company, right? So because then it is when you have the final impact to the product or to the service that company it is delivering. But you see, there is a lot of it's perfect, but it is also very interesting that ESG, people say as well sustainability, and for me ESG is just managing, reporting, targeting.
I agree
Exactly,
fully.
right? And then people are confused. But what you are
Very
saying,
confusing.
exactly, but the definition that you already mentioned, it is exactly fantastic because you are, I like this integral part, right? The holistic part. Because if you don't have this holistic part, forget it. Then you will be not able really as a company to be sustainable. And then it's why you needed to bring different dimensions. And that's why the Chief Sustainability Officer needs to have different levels of capabilities and skills because it's quite complex to manage all of that. It's not easy. It's fascinating. You learn a lot, but it's complex.
And last but probably not least, I assume that some people listening this podcast might be in sustainability careers, and maybe there are people listening who have got the ambition to become a chief sustainability officer one day. What is your advice to them?
Yeah, first of all, my advice is that this is not a fashion role. So it's not a role that will disappear in a few years. No, it's really a role that will be really ingrained in organization for years in years. So that's true that in my dream, maybe in 70 years from now, maybe we don't need to have much more sustainability, but it's not the case. So there is a lot of work to be done. And we need a lot of people with that mindset, with that spirit, with that super commitment, because to be the steward, right, of sustainability in all of that planet. So I will really recommend that those persons nurture their hard skills and soft skills as much as possible, because it's a fascinating opportunity for each of them. They will grow a lot as a human being, but they will learn a lot. But definitely it will ask them to have a lot of resilience because it's not an easy job. But again, it's very rewarded job. So I will really encourage people to go on that journey, definitely.
It's wonderful. I think that's very inspiring and great words of wisdom for anyone either starting out in this career or continuing their journeys. Thank you so much, Montse, for sharing your experiences with us today.
You are very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this discussion, we invite you to like and share this episode on your social media. Enjoy the rest of your day.